everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Divina. Today we are at New Salem. If you guys haven't heard of it, ouch, just hit my knee, just kidding. Anyway, if you haven't heard of it, this is where Lincoln used to live. And we are going around and interviewing some of the staff here, and they have got a lot of cool facts to share. So please enjoy the video. Alrighty guys, so before we get into talking to some of the staff and hearing what they have to say about the history behind the village here, I want to give you a little bit of history as well. So Abraham Lincoln lived in this area. Now this is a reconstruction of the village. This was actually built in the 1930s and 1940s, so it's not the exact log cabins, of course, that the people used to live in before, but this is the exact area where this village used to be. Now, Abraham Lincoln lived here from 1831 to 1837. So he lived here about 6 years, but the town itself actually only existed for 12 years before everybody just kind of up and left and abandoned everything. He was a shop owner as well, but you'll hear more about that later on in the video from one of the staff members. But it's a really cool place. Apart from the village itself, there's also a gift shop here inside the village, and then there's also a visitor center at the front, and there's some exhibits inside of the visitor center. I kind of totally forgot to go in there and look at that because I have been here so many times that I just kind of forgot that that would be something that other people may want to see. There's also a park and a campground as well. I really hope you guys enjoy the video and this look at New Salem. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.
Tell me what to do when I'm missing you. Tell me what to say when I'm not okay. I'm so caught up, I can't get enough. Baby, I'm missing your love. Beautiful memories held in beautiful eyes. I remember looking into them for the first time.
Hello, how you doing?
Good, how are you? Come
Not too. You ain't got your fire going.
Not yet. I'll probably do that this afternoon.
Oh, it's chilly enough, ain't it?
It is. So this is the home and office of Dr. John Allen. He's one of 2 doctors here in the village. Back then you didn't have to go to medical school to call yourself a doctor. You could just hang out your shingle. But he did go to medical school. He attended Dartmouth out east.
Oh,
He studied heroic medicine, which was cutting edge for the day. The basis of heroic medicine is that there are 4 fluids in the body that they felt needed to be balanced in order for you to enjoy a healthy life. And those were green bile, yellow bile, blood, and sputum. And if one of those was out of balance, they felt that was what was making you feel so crummy. So, how would they rebalance you? They would either blister you, bleed you, puke you, or poop you.
Oh.
Now, if
Sounds
none
like
of that would help you out, then they would give you a dose of mercury. We know mercury to be extremely poisonous today,
wow.
but back then they felt that it did have some medical properties to it.
Oh, wow.
Over here are some surgical instruments that he used, also some medications that he would have taken on his house calls. If you needed crutches, he would have loaned you those crutches there in the corner. He was not only your doctor, but he was your dentist, your veterinarian, and your pharmacist. One-stop shopping.
You just pray you got it right.
So if you needed your tooth pulled, this is what he would have used. This would have been used for a front tooth. Now keep in mind they didn't have any anesthetic or Numzit.
Oh, gosh.
This would have been used for a molar in the back.
Oh, wow.
Now, they hadn't discovered germs in the 1830s. They were there, but they hadn't discovered them. So hand washing wasn't a big deal. Instrument washing definitely wasn't a big deal. And definitely no mask wearing. But there were plenty of infections around. This is a stethoscope. The big end goes to your chest, the small end to the listener's ear.
Oh,
It does work.
that's cool.
Now, these are in the days before casting, and these are also in the days before ace wrap bandages were invented. So if you would have had the misfortune of breaking your forearm, you would have ended up with something like this.
Oh.
And they would have wrapped it with a piece of fabric.
Wow.
If you really, really, really had a bad day and you broke your wrist, this is what you would have ended up with. And actually, this is pretty smart. If you take a look at your wrist, there's a gentle curve here
Right.
on the outside. So by putting in these 2 pieces of metal, they were able to reproduce that curve.
Oh.
So, again, they would put you on here like so, wrap you with an old piece of fabric. But by putting these 2 metal pieces in here, this would have kept your wrist in a neutral position so that when you no longer needed this, you could start moving normally.
Cool.
Pretty smart, huh?
Yeah.
Now out in back he had an herb garden. He'd bring in an herb, he'd grind it in the mortar and pestle, make a paste out of it. He'd put the paste here, run this over the top, and you got pills.
Oh, wow.
Quality control wasn't a thing, but you had pills.
Right.
Behind the fireplace here is his office. You'll notice there is not an exam table there. That's because he didn't see his patients here. He saw his patients at their homes.
Right.
All of these things would have been back in his office. If you look at the little table on the left side in there, there's a top hat and a pair of saddlebags. Go ahead. And those are Dr. Allen's.
Oh, they are? Original?
Now, in most of these houses, the number of chairs in the house matched the number of bottoms that lived in the house. Dr. Allen lived here with his wife and 1 child, so we should only have 3 chairs. We have a lot more. That's because Dr. Allen taught Sunday school here. He was of Presbyterian faith. He also held temperance meetings here, and temperance is the forerunner to Alcoholics Anonymous.
Oh.
Now, what's the difference between Dr. Regnier, the other doctor in town, and Dr. Allen? Dr. Regnier liked to sedate with alcohol.
Oh.
So this was a store, huh?
Yes. Did you go into the first store or down the street there?
Oh, no, actually, we just stopped in across here first.
Okay, okay. The reason I asked that is because he tells a pretty long story about both stores.
Oh.
If you went in there, he would have told you both. This is the second Barry Lincoln store. He did not have 2 stores at the same time. They took that store from the Herndon brothers, who sort of gave up. A lot of men gave up on storekeeping in these small villages because there's a lot of competition. and like Sam Hill next door, he's paid for his goods. So he's off and running when he opens the door. These other guys are getting things on credit. And if they can't pay that, they're out of here. And a lot of them signed those promissory note loans for the goods to the next person willing to give it a try. So these promissory notes gets passed from person to person, and Lincoln literally he ends up holding the bag. So the reason he moved into this store is because Reuben Radford had this one, and he left his clerk in charge one day when he went to Springfield on business. And he said, if the Clary Grove boys come in, you limit them to 2 drinks. Well, Clary Grove boys don't like to be told that they have to limit their consumption. So they beat up the clerk, threw him in the corner, broke into the whiskey barrel, and helped themselves. Got roaring drunk and busted up the place.
Sheesh.
So when Reuben came back from Springfield, he saw this mess, and he says, that's it, I'm out of here. I'm moving to Springfield. I can't take this anymore. So William Green, who was the one who we think at this time, gets very confusing, owns the building, and he'd rented it to Reuben Radford, and he said, well, what will you take for what's left? So he quoted him a price. William signed a promissory note, and then went down the street and sold the goods and told Lincoln and Berry they could move into this store if they wanted to. And then they signed a promissory note, and then they went deeper in debt. So they winked out. So eventually, the original creditor wants paid. He's waited long enough, and he doesn't really care how many times you've signed over that promissory note. He wants paid. So that's when the sheriff had to confiscate Lincoln's personal items like his horse, his bridle, his saddle, his surveying equipment. The one thing Lincoln was making a little bit of money at was that surveying job. So Jimmy Short, as the movie says, if you saw it, bought back Lincoln's private possessions and gave them back to him and said, man's got to earn a living. Well, I'm not quite sure what would have happened to Lincoln if he didn't get the surveying job back. Because in the background, he is studying for the law, but he's not there yet. Mm-hmm. He's not there for 3 more years, technically, since the store closed in 34. So he just kind of hangs in here. I mean, he paid what he could, but when he left here, he's deeply in debt from the storekeeping enterprise. And I think William Herndon said, his last law partner, that he sent the last check in 1848 to pay off Lincoln's debt at New Salem.
Oh,
That's
wow.
like 11 years later.
Wow.
So yeah, Lincoln called it his national debt. That's when you read that, he's talking about that debt here at New Salem. Yeah.
Wow.
His national debt. Yeah.
Well, he did make it to the White House, though.
He sure did. What I think the stories I like the most are the people who didn't say, "Oh, I knew he'd be president someday." Ridiculous. Except Granny Spears. Everybody believes she actually said that. Yeah. I mean,
Tell me what to do when I'm missing you. Tell me what to say when I'm not okay. I'm so caught up, I can't get enough. So tell me what to do when I'm missing you. Tell me what to say when I'm not okay. I'm so caught up, I can't get enough. Maybe I'm missing your love.
So warm in here. Well, this was the school. You want to show them where they had to go to the bathroom at?